Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of On Wednesdays We Wear Orange. This is my new series where I share story times about my time in jail. This week I'm going to talk about relationships while incarcerated. I'm going to touch on relationships, before you go into jail, but I'm also going to talk about relationships while you're in jail with other prisoners, aka gay for this day. If you're new to my channel, what's up? My name's Megan. I hope you enjoy it here and choose to stick around. If so, like this video and subscribe. Definitely turn the bell notification on because I post videos every Wednesday with the occasional Sunday thrown in there. And I use my channel as a way to advocate for addiction recovery and for rehabilitation of felons, mostly because I'm both of those things, a recovering addict and a felon, but yeah, so let's get into this story. I found inspiration for today's video in Christina Randall's video from last week. She posted another video comparing Orange is the New Black to reality, what it's really like in prison. And in that video, she talked about Ruby Rose. So if you don't know who Christina Randall is, I'll link her in the description, but seriously, what rock have you been living under? She's blowing up and she's amazing. Ruby Rose, for those of you who live under an even bigger rock, is the love interest of the main character from Orange is the New Black, the Netflix series. And she's a freaking babe. She's got these amazing feminine features, but yet she also has this masculine, edgy side, and she's just all around attractive. I thought that I would kind of share my experience in jail with my own version of Ruby Rose and kind of talk about just relationships while incarcerated in general. Please keep in mind that I can't speak for all women, and I can't speak for all women that are incarcerated. I can only share my experiences and how I felt and what state of mind I was in when I went to jail. Some other things to get out of the way would be, I think that sexuality is very fluid in nature. I don't think that anyone is truly 100% heterosexual or 100% homosexual. I just don't. I think that we all have tendencies and we all like what we like, but we like it to different degrees. I also think that it's human nature to crave connection. That is part of why I think relationships in jail exist and thrive like they do. You're very lonely in there. You're isolated from everything you know about life. Most people that you know, you might have contact with a few friends or family members, but it's not very many. And, you can be in there for a very long time. The thing about prison relationships is that the media has kind of portrayed this image that I don't think is very accurate. Orange is the New Black romanticizes and glamorizes prison relationships. But in reality, it's a coping mechanism for some very damaged women. And it can be very unhealthy, and it can really hinder their ability to fully rehabilitate themselves before they re-enter society. Statistically speaking, incarcerated women are more likely to have experienced poverty, more likely to have dropped out of high school. They probably were in unhealthy relationships, maybe victims of domestic violence, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual assault. Most female inmates that I met struggled with addiction. And on top of that, I bet a good percentage of them have a comorbid disorder as well, like depression or anxiety, antisocial personality disorder. The list is so long. These women aren't treating these mental health issues, so that's very important to keep in mind. A lot of incarcerated women have a history of unhealthy relationships, one right after another. It's, all they know. The emotional chaos of this unhealthy relationship, it's just their reality. We're broken women. We've been broken by our personal choices, by our environment, by our childhood and our upbringing, and by the people that we've loved the most. I didn't know who I was when I went to jail. I didn't know how to define myself if I wasn't in a relationship. The validation I got from being in a relationship was what made me feel good about myself. So I didn't feel good by myself. I didn't like who I was. I only liked when I made someone else happy. My relationship with Greg, who I am with now, was probably the unhealthiest relationship I've ever been in, especially back then. We are at a totally different place now. And at one point I would like to share our story. I'm hesitant though because I know people are going to have opinions. That's just kind of part of putting your life out on the internet. You do so knowing that people are going to judge, which is fine. I stand by my decision to be with Greg. I'm very happy and I love my family so much, but it was a long and hard road to get here. I'm talking like lots of infidelity and lies and gaslighting and drug use. And that's from both parties. It's not just him solely. I was just at a very dark point when I turned myself into jail, and I just lost who I was. I wasn't supposed to be a heroin addict. I wasn't supposed to be a felon. I wasn't supposed to be a college dropout. I had such big dreams and expectations, but I didn't put in the work to get there. So in reality, it made sense I ended up where I did, but I didn't understand how. I thought life was just supposed to work out like it always did. Turns out it doesn't work out like that. When I turned myself into jail, Greg and I were not officially dating anymore. I was seeing someone else, as I've mentioned, and it was a very superficial relationship that kind of just made me feel better. I think honestly it just helped me hide my dark secrets because this other guy was really great. But Greg and I got arrested together and sentenced together, so we were both supposed to turn ourselves into jail the same day. He did not turn himself in. He went on the run with another girl. And I mean, literally just said I was in another relationship. Please keep that in mind. But I was very jealous and bitter and just not in a good place. I just didn't like myself, didn't like where I was, didn't like anything. And then suddenly I started getting attention from a specific person, and it made me feel amazing. And I know so many women in jail have felt that way. That connection, not all jail relationships are bad. Let's get that out there too, because I think almost everyone has like a prison girlfriend in a sense. You can have a prison girlfriend who is like a wife and takes care of you. You can have a prison girlfriend in a sexual sense where that's all it's about. You can have a prison girlfriend who is like your best friend. It's someone that you're spending all of your time with. I've had a best friend for a very long time, and we used to spend so much time together that people just referred to us as girlfriends. And honestly, that's what it felt like. So everybody experiences prison relationships to some extent. That's just life. That's how it works. But there should be boundaries in place. You need to be able to work on yourself. And sometimes our unhealthy relationship choices will follow us into jail. I want to talk about my Ruby Rose. Her name was Miranda, and she is very much like Ruby Rose in the sense that she was just very attractive. Everybody was attracted to her, and she just had that cool vibe to her. I don't know how to explain it, but I was smitten. When I went to jail, I had decided that I was not going to date any women while I was there. I just knew that it wasn't the right time. I was open to the idea of dating another woman, but I didn't want my first relationship with a woman to be while I was in jail. That just does not sound like a great place to meet. That being said, I tried to see Miranda after she got out of jail with such high hopes, but it didn't follow through. That's kind of important to note. When you are in jail, they say gay for the stay, straight at the gate. I think that there are a couple dimensions to that. I think you're choosing to go back to your heterosexual tendencies and preferences, which is fine. You can choose what you like. But a lot of people are also, married on the outside, or they don't want to tell their friends and family that they are gay or bisexual, which is kind of where I fell too. In going to jail, I had to admit my addiction. I had to admit so many things to my mom about all the lying and the deceit, and I lost my job, and I was very, very heavily relying on my mom's support. So I wasn't trying to be like, oh, I'm an addict, oh, I'm a liar, oh, I'm a felon, oh, I lost my job, oh, I'm gay. It wasn't right. It wasn't the right time. Speaking of, I actually have never talked to my mom about my sexual preferences. Not like it matters, because I don't honestly see myself dating a woman simply because I'm in a committed relationship. But if it happened, it happened. It just didn't happen for me. Anyway, off track. So the whole straight at the gate, I think that the big thing about when you leave is that your relationships change. Any relationship you had on the inside just can't exist as it did there on the outside. So many things change, so many more people are involved in your life. There are so many more things that you are required to do and places to go. The dynamics of every relationship changes. Just like when you are going into jail, your outside relationship can't be as it was. While you're inside, it just doesn't work that way. That's why I think people do this whole gay for the stay, straight at the gate. They adapt to their surroundings, which are all female, and just decide that that's the relationship they want to have. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I don't really like the idea of saying straight at the gate. That's like saying you are either straight or gay, yes or no, black or white. I don't think it exists like that. I think that our sexual identity or preferences exist on a spectrum, and you can change your preference and location on the spectrum depending on your situation and life experiences. That's okay. You don't have to be the same way throughout your entire life. Orange is the New Black kind of set unrealistic expectations as to what it's like in prison, especially relationships. You know, they romanticized it, they glamorized it, but I do think some good things came from introducing Ruby Rose. Ruby Rose's character made women across the world question their sexual identity. She was developed as a way to increase views, but they inadvertently highlighted the fluidity of sexuality, which I think is a great conversation to be had. Women as truly sexy as Ruby Rose do exist in, you know, regular life and in jail, but they're unicorns. She is definitely a character on a TV show. Miranda was a beautiful woman, and she still is. I actually reached out to her after watching Christina's videos. I'm happy to have reconnected with her. Maybe I will bring her on or just ask her some questions and just kind of reminisce with her. I think it's important to remember that women are attractive in so many different forms, you know, and we come in so many forms. And when you go to jail, you kind of have this large population of all different types of women. So I just think it's an interesting environment. I think that for me it wasn't that big of a deal because I was already open to the idea of sexuality being fluid. And I had already decided that I wasn't going to date a woman. So it just kind of made everything easier. That being said, Miranda was in the back in general population while I was up front on work release. So I only saw her in the rec yard. I could sit here and be like, well, you know, I maintained these boundaries in my prison relationship. But in reality, there's a big fence between us. I could only see her outside during rec. Had my job not come through at the factory, I would have been back there with her, so who knows what would have happened. If you know someone that goes to jail and decides that they want to start dating women, support them. It's not that big of a deal, guys. Like, at this point, seriously, it's 2019. Why do you care? Why does anyone care? The only thing that I care about is the whole idea of gay for the stage, straight at the gate. That is more about the environment and location of the relationships than the actual sexual identities. But yeah, I hope you liked today's video. If you want me to go into more detail about my relationship with Miranda or my relationship with Greg, I would love to do that. Just let me know what you'd like to hear. My story with Greg is definitely a doozy, and I think it'll be good to start sharing that one soon, you know? We have overcome a lot, and to be able to be together now, sober, raising a toddler, it's just, life has come full circle and it's pretty amazing. But I've seen a lot of infidelity in the news and media recently, so I kind of have an opinion about that. I've stayed in this relationship and we've healed past infidelity on both sides. And that was a very long process, like so long, guys, so long. It hurt for years. Both of us hurt, but we chose to stay together. We accepted that if things never got better from this point where we were at then, we would be okay because we loved each other. The good news is things did get better, but it doesn't always happen. And I see a lot of people stay in relationships when infidelity happens, and I don't think it's a good decision. I'm not saying that my case was special, but it would be an interesting video to make if you'd be down to hear it. P.S. Don't forget to comment and like this video. Include lots of orange hearts in the comments because that would make me happy. See you guys.